Welcome back, Visions Equals Reality family. I'm your host, Steric Lynn, founder and CEO of Visions Equals Reality. On this show, one of the things we do is interview leaders of organizations for them to tell their story of how they turn their visions into reality. Once again, we have another impactful show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Well, hey, welcome to Visions Equal Reality platform.
Thank you.
Absolutely. But thank you for being a host on our platform. So before we get started, what I'd like to do is can you tell the viewers a little bit about Vera?
Well, who am I, huh? so
Yes.
I'm a newly American. Even though I came to this country back in 2002, right after 9/11, from Czechoslovakia, or later Czech Republic. I became a citizen just 2 years ago, I believe.
Okay.
So it's a lot of new things, and I would say I'm someone who is a lifelong learner. I have done many different things in my life, and everything taught me something new. And so I call myself master of reinvention because I got to point to my life when I realized that it is up to me what is my life gonna look like, and
Right.
that I have the power to change things that I don't like and influence things that I do like. And so once that, we were studying myself, looking after people that I was interested in, like Tony Robbins, people that were helping me to develop myself. Because many people grew up, and I'm not an exception, with a lot of issues that stays with you for the rest of your life, unfortunately. False beliefs and negative thinking that we were not born with, but we
Right.
learned throughout the life, when people were telling me you can't do this, and you're not good enough for this, and who do you think you are, as I heard
Right.
a lot in my childhood.
Right.
So you have to grow this, and you have to deal with these issues, because they kind of become in your subconscious, and they stop you from things that are possible for you.
Right.
And so when I realized that it's actually really up to me and my mindset, I started working on creating my life on my terms,
Right.
and not letting anybody telling me that I can't do something.
Right.
And when you do that, you are incredibly free person. And so I wish it for everybody, and that's why I became a coach.
Right.
I learn from the best, but I also apply personal experiences and the professional experiences. So I help business owners to sell better, because I
Right.
was in sales most of my life,
Right.
uh, without feeling fake and sleazy and salesy and what all that negative, you know, labels that comes with it for many people. I don't want to be. I hate sales. I've heard it so many times,
Right.
and yet you selling every time. You trying to persuade your wife that you want to go out for dinner to this restaurant and not that one. You are
Right.
selling, actually. You are
Right.
selling. You have to be persuasive. You have to come up with arguments why that would sound better to her than
Right.
original. So that's about, in a little box, who I am, I think.
Absolutely. We're good. Listen, trust me, do this show. We'll have an opportunity to bring out some more Vera, a little bit about Vera. So, one of the things I like to do to Vera is kind of to step back from where you are today, right? Because
Hmm.
every entrepreneur, and I think what happens is a lot of entrepreneurs look at of where the entrepreneurs or people, successful people are today,
Yeah.
don't really have a chance to see, well, you know what? This is what it really took, or this is where I
Oh,
actually
yeah.
first started my entrepreneur path. So, what does that look like for you? Where did you first came into to have the ambition to start as an entrepreneur?
I would have to go really far back, because I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. I
Right.
was definitely not surrounded by anybody who would be doing that. First of all, I grew up under communism, where there is no private business ship at all. Like, you
Right.
are not allowed to do anything. Everything is government owned, everything is government run. There was no such an option. So there was nobody in my childhood who would be entrepreneurial, or doing their own business. It was not possible. And somehow I was born in a very small village. It was like 1900 people. And we didn't know we were poor because it's just that's how everybody was. So you don't know any better. You don't
Right. It's
know.
normal life, right?
Yeah, it's
Right.
like you accept it because that's the way it is.
Right.
But still I felt like I don't belong there. Like I felt that I'm not, I don't want a dead life that seemed to be destined for me in that
Right.
village.
Right.
And I was very much into music when I was a child, and nobody in my family was. My father would occasionally play accordion, but that was when he had little few drinks and he wanted to have fun. So
Right.
it was really was into it. And I played piano since I was 5 because my teacher discovered me playing in some like preschool kindergarten show, and she convinced my parents that I was talented.
Right.
And it was like really not something that I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to have good grades and go to school what the government allows me to go, because you have no your choices.
Right.
And so I was not faced with the opportunity at all until I moved to Prague when I was 19, and I started learning that I can go after what I want, because at that time I wanted to be professional singer. The only I had was a state ensemble of songs and dance, and they just had audition for a solo singer. And for some reason I gained that courage in me, and I'm like, of course I'm a solo singer.
Right.
Even though I have done it like amateurish, I have sang with the dulcimer band, folklore music, but not on professional level. And I went there, and there, out of 1,600 people, I was chosen to become a professional singer for that state ensemble. So that was my huge, huge achievement in my.
Absolutely.
Because I had encouraging me and supporting me, and of course you can do it. I have nobody like that in my life. It was not how I was brought up.
Right.
And then,
Self-driven.
yeah.
Right.
And it was just like when I felt something wasn't right for me, I was courageous enough to kind of observe what would feel right for me. I was courageous to go and try. Even if I failed, I was courageous to go and try. And so when I skipped forward 1989, suddenly we had a revolution in Czechoslovakia and we defeated communism. It opened huge opportunities that we never have in my country, or not in my lifetime so far.
Right.
People started opening their businesses. They didn't know what they were doing. It was kind of like Wild West, like everybody was like, oh, let me buy Mercedes and I'm gonna be called business owner, and then they went bankrupt next year.
Right.
So it was kind of tough, and I wasn't pulled to be entrepreneur. I didn't know what it was about, so I was always looking for a job.
Right.
And when my careers ended in the state ensemble, I actually ended up, my from Holland invited me to stay with them and to start to look for opportunities there.
Right.
I didn't speak any foreign language at that time. I only spoke Czech.
Wow.
Because under communism we were only allowed to learn Russian, and so that meant I could not really communicate properly with anybody.
Wow.
But I went again, like a little crazy, It's like,
hey,
why not?
Step out, leap of faith.
Why
right?
not? Yeah,
Right.
because I was like, I don't want to go back to my small village.
Right.
I wanna see what is out there. And I kind of probably in the back of my mind was some powerful feeling like I want to prove my mom wrong, who kept telling me, who do you think you are? The world is waiting for you.
Right.
And I was thinking like, yeah, it is kind of. Why not?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I went and I spent I was in Holland for a year. Then I came back, and by the time I self-learned English and Dutch together, because I was watching American movies with Dutch subtitles.
Right.
And when you are in that environment and you cannot speak otherwise, you have to hands and arms, and you just explain things with other words, and you get there. And of course I was making mistakes perfect now, but obviously live here almost 20 years now, so it improved significantly.
Great.
But when I came back, again, I was looking for a job, and any job. I didn't know what I wanted to do because I wasn't really specialized in anything. Since I couldn't do music anymore, I just needed a job to pay bills.
Right.
And by accident, I came across amazing opportunity just because I learned English.
Ah.
Even though it wasn't perfect, even though it wasn't a scholar type of English, I was able to communicate and have the conversation. And time my friend showed me some newspapers because I was kind of down. I had my heart broken and I was feeling sorry for myself. And I was kind of waiting that somebody will fix it for me.
Right.
And then my friend came over and he's like, what are you doing? And I was sitting and feeling sorry for myself, crying, and was drinking some whiskey. And I was like, whatever, my life is over. And I'm like 22 years old, you know, it's like really, we all went through something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he actually threw a newspaper in front of me. I was like, here, go and look for a job. And I'm like, what do you mean? First of all, I'm like, I will stay unuseful to go and look for a job. And second, I just had this fabulous job in Holland. I was driving Audi. I was researching glass factories in Czech for this Dutch businessman. So I felt like I'm on top of the world. I'm big shot, and now I'm gonna be looking for what, like waitressing jobs or something. You know, it's like I talked myself out of it, and I felt so victimized that I was not capable of thinking clearly.
Right.
And my friend was that kick that I needed at the time to kick me in the butt and says, hey, wake up and do something about it.
Right.
Even though I at that moment, because it was like, it's like, you have no idea what I'm dealing with. And of course he did. He was like 50 at that time. So he knew exactly what he was dealing with.
Right.
But next day I really started looking through the newspaper and I found few. I didn't go for waitressing because I realized I will forget the order by the time I make it to the kitchen. I'm not cut for that.
Right.
So I was looking for, and I two offers jumped out of me of that newspaper. One was for travel agency that were looking for somebody who speaks English, which very common time because after revolution, like I said, we didn't have the option to learn English. We were learning Russian in school.
Right.
And the other option was DHL, which was American company, courier company that was just opening their business in Czech Republic.
Right.
And I looked and I called both and I got an interview. And the first was the travel agency, and I spoke with the owner, and she was really nice and impressed. And I was like, I would like to, you know, this was something that I would like to be, and I would like to travel, and you know. And so they both, after that, told me that to me. And I had the interview with DHL. I spoke with the general manager, and he was British, which was very intimidating for me because my English wasn't that good.
Right.
And I'm claiming that I speak English, right?
Speak great.
And yeah, well, now, yeah. But at that time, I was actually speaking English, and once in a while, I would throw Dutch word in it because it was just both languages at the same time was too much to absorb, you know.
Right.
But he saw my personality, and he didn't care how perfect my English was.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to see me, and it was actually a job like answering the phones, which I think I'm good at, like that stress, you know, like calls coming in and connecting and stuff.
Right.
But I did the interview anyway. And he actually came up during that interview. He said, well, we are also opening downtown office. Would you be interested maybe running that office? And I'm like, absolutely. I'm the best with people. I would hate to be on the phone, like totally.
Right.
So again, if I decided ahead of time that this was not for me, I would close those doors and that opportunity would never come up.
Absolutely.
So now the craziest thing happened. Both of them did me. The travel agency called and she told me that I got the job.
Mm.
And for some reason, and I totally don't know why till today.
Mhm.
It must be some
Right.
divine
It
providence.
was meant to be.
I felt that I want the other job. And
Okay.
even though I didn't know if I'm going to get it, I told her that I already have something else.
Spoke
I
it.
took that
into
risk,
existence.
which was like, I really don't know how it came to me.
Yes.
And the next day I got a call that I got the other job. And I was like,
Absolutely.
oh my God, this was meant to
Spoken.
be. And you know
Meant
what
to
the
be.
best part of it was? And 3 weeks later, my future husband walked into that office.
Hey, see, that was meant to be. You made that decision. So
Yeah.
so let's talk about you. You was in a familiar environment, right? So you was in
Yeah.
Czechoslovakia, you was in a familiar environment. You moved to the United States, which is an unfamiliar environment. You know, I always take that to an entrepreneur or someone that's doing a career change that wants to get an entrepreneur, want to start maybe a new career. And again, it's an unfamiliar, environment,
Yeah.
right? It's like an unknown. So what advice, I guess, can you give maybe an entrepreneur or someone that maybe want to do a career change and you're just at that
Yes.
line, right? They don't know what to do or afraid to take
That's
that
the
next step of
exactly
faith.
thing. If you walk into anything and you have assumptions that
Right.
you cannot do it, then you will never have courage to do anything.
Right.
We have excellent ability in our head to talk ourselves out of things. You have an idea, and if you don't act on it right away, 5 seconds later, you talk yourself out of it. Oh, that's ridiculous. Everybody does that, and I can't do that. And you basically defeated before you manage. And when I was thinking about this throughout my life, just like with this DHL job, I didn't really want the telephone job,
Right.
but I did go and explore it anyway. Because when you open some door, you never know what awaits behind them.
Right.
And
What's the next
so
thing?
when I think of my life, and I didn't go to college, that was not possible for me, but I was constantly self-educating and I was learning things that interest me, and I was exploring ideas where me. I met my husband. He was American citizen, but he was also Czech born. So
Right.
he just immigrated much earlier than I, because
Right.
we have an age difference.
Right.
But so eventually I left DHL a few years later, and it was best company ever for me to learn everything.
Right.
But we were in our own business together for 10 years in Czech, and then 9/11 happened and we came to America. And the same thing happened to me when I really didn't know what I want to do, because I was so open to anything that comes my way that I didn't want to limit those chances. And in Prague, I was editor in chief. I ran business, cultural events, and I knew all VIPs in the Czech show business. I was interviewing them. My husband was representing one of famous Czech singers that lived in America at the time. So I was exploring completely different things that seemingly didn't have anything to do with each other. At DHL, I ended up as a sales manager. So
Great.
it was funny because it was business and art, and business and art was always the theme for me.
Right.
So when I came to States, and like you said, I didn't know anybody, but my husband lived here before. Connect. But at the beginning, I didn't even, it was like we need to work because we didn't come with money.
Right.
We had to be able to rent our first apartment. We have to be able to start somehow. So we went to Connecticut, where he originally started back in 1969,
Right.
and because that's where he had like 30 years old friendships from that time. And a few people pointed me out to different places, and it was at the beginning, you feel like I'm nobody here. I don't have credit report. Nobody knows me. Nobody can give me a chance. Um, you have no history in that, right?
Right.
And so I was looking for like very low level jobs that are no risk for possible employer.
Mhm.
And one of those offers were, again, some waitressing jobs that I really didn't want to do. And one of those offers was a greenhouse, farmers. And I'm
Right.
like, I don't care.
Right.
Why not? I mean, I have been a manager. I have been running my own business, but I was humble enough to accept that why not? I would try and I will look it up and see where it leads me. I was
Absolutely.
not humble to take any to more because and we needed the money so we can pay our bills.
Right.
And I have to start somehow. And I
Absolutely.
wasn't sitting back and waiting for manager job until somebody discovered me. I had to create those opportunities for myself. So we went and see these people, and it was wonderful Italian couple. And unfortunately, they were off season, so they were not looking for any help.
Right.
But Michael, the owner, he was looking at me. He's like, "What do you want doing with the farmers?" Like, but I was born in village. We worked hard. I was not somebody like
Absolutely. Not afraid
physical work is
to,
not good enough
yeah.
for me.
Right.
And I'm his big black Mercedes pulled over, and she was this typical Italian matriarch, very, very confident woman,
Right.
and looked at me, and she's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, what is this about? And so he told her that I was looking for a possible job. And she looked at me and she said, "Well, do you have a resume?" And I said, "Yeah, I do have a resume in my car." So I gave her my resume, and there was, truthfully stated that I worked as a sales manager for DHL. Then I ran my own business. I was editor in chief for a magazine in Prague. And now I'm looking for a farmer's job. Huh. And
Right.
she looked at me, she said, "Well, would you mind to work in the office?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, between my friend, plastic surgeon, and her brother Czerny, I'm sure they'll have something for you." And without me saying anything, next day I got a phone call and I was offered a job to manage a spa in Hartford.
Wow.
The doctor called me without ever seeing me, based on the impression I made on the lady, because I was humble enough to ask for any job,
Right.
and based on the that from my previous jobs, but none of them were in the United States. So
Right.
she took a huge chance because I was unknown.
Right.
I didn't have credit report. Nobody could say a word for me because nobody had experience with me except my husband.
Absolutely.
And so again, I entered something I knew nothing about.
Right.
I seriously,
Took a
like, I was
chance.
not a woman who would go to spa and have a facials and obviously I had my hair done a few times, but
Right.
I could not afford to have like facial every month like some women do.
Right.
And when doctor saw me, and I was much younger then, and she goes, "Oh, you have such a beautiful skin. You use regimen, go to facials all the time." It's like, yeah, been maybe 3 times in my life. I
Very
had no
shocking, right?
clue. But you know what? She gave me the chance. She was confident that I can do it because I run my own business.
Great.
She knew that I was humble enough to prove myself to her that she was not wrong to give me that chance.
Great.
And that's how you start.
Absolutely.
It's
Taking a
sometimes
chance, right?
I have met somebody actually here in America, and that was when I ran my little business, physical business, before I moved to coaching.
Right.
And she was so impressed with me, and she was looking at me, this 20 with best colleges and everything. And she was looking at me, she's like, "I'm so fascinated by someone who came to this country, didn't know the language." Well, I did know the language already, but not perfectly, right?
Right. Right.
And they are confident enough to start their own business. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, sometimes you have no other chance.
Right.
Sometimes you run into situation where you have to.
Right. You're at the bottom. So all
And
you can do is
sometimes
go
you
up.
just gather all your courage and you want to try something because you don't feel like you want to be employed anymore. Because
Absolutely.
beautiful, I don't want to, and I don't want to say anything bad about it because I was employed most of my life.
Right. Right.
But when I moved to my own business, I learned very valuable lesson. It's the decision making process that it was very important to me, to my values.
Right.
I have been in positions through my works
Right.
where I had to say something that I didn't agree with because that was the company's position. And I didn't feel good about doing that,
Right.
like saying customer something that I did not agree with. And because you are employee, you have the guidance of the company.
Yes.
I also learned how easy it is when somebody's paying you salary to take that salary away.
Right.
Because I was always concerned to give my 150% to all my jobs.
Right.
But when it comes to time when company needs to get rid of you, they don't think twice.
Don't think
And
of it
it's
at
a
all.
business.
Yeah.
It's
a
business. It's,
Correct. Yeah. It's a business.
so when this happened to me, and it did, because when that was my second job that I moved to in the United States. And
Okay.
again, something that I had no clue about,
Right.
wine selling.
Yeah.
And you
Well, let's
know
talk
about it
about
because
that.
we
Yeah.
talked about
Well,
that.
let's talk about that wine cellar.
Another crazy opportunity that came my way because I was looking.
Yeah. So let's talk about this wine selling. So
Yeah.
you moved from the United States. You got into wine selling wine a year after
Yeah.
that. Why wine? How did that happen?
Why wine? Again,
Yes.
I quit from my salon job, from the
Okay.
managing the spa. I was extremely successful. I it was in big distress. It was going bankrupt, which
Okay.
I didn't know, and probably the owner didn't know either because she had somebody there who was running it to the ground.
Right.
I was able to recover that business, to amendments with all the vendors that were own money. The employees were ready to walk out. I was really stressed out because I was running it like my own business. I was working 70 hours a week. It was crazy. And then my husband got almost heart attack.
Hmm.
And I was like, what am I doing? I didn't come here to kill ourselves. This is not what I wanted. We have to, support each other. And it was too much. And then, the owner started changing her mind on things and she wouldn't take my advice. And I was like, this is not working anymore. I really saved that business, and she, she didn't want to change, you know, my ideas. And so I said, you know what, it's not working. And we disagree on the way where it should go. So
Right.
it was the honest thing to do for me to resign.
Right.
Now I'm in situation I don't have a job, and I was not in situation that I can afford to not have a job. Excuse me. So I did the same thing like I did the first time. We started exploring people we know and asking them if they know about anything. Again, anything. I didn't focus on one industry, one thing. I didn't care what it was.
Right.
I did like temporary situation. I have to find something, and it will eventually move me to something better. So I didn't mind if it's gonna be low level job as long as they can hire me now and can pay me, right?
Right.
And one of those opportunities was somebody whose son worked at a wholesaler company, wine company. Well, I was a wine drinker, but I didn't know much about wine. By irony of the destiny, this was the top company in the state of Connecticut with the most knowledgeable salespeople in the
Wow.
business. And I'm like, I didn't know that when I went. I actually didn't know much about the company because at that time you cannot look up stuff online so easily. And this was a wholesaler, and I wasn't sure what they do. And so I just came to explore. And this guy who provided the contact, he told me openly, they are not looking for anybody right now.
Mhm.
I just want you to, I just open the door, just go talk to them and see what comes out of it. And that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want somebody like clean a path for me. I just wanted to see what's out there and what's possible.
Right.
And the same thing happened like the first time. We made such a good impression on each other that even though the guy liked my resume so much, and he was the financial director of the company, and he liked my personality because I was not arrogant. I was humble enough to take whatever, you know. And he saw my resume, and he saw and I had great recommendation letter from doctor that I worked for before.
Right.
So I now had history in America. And he was so impressed, and he said, you know what, let me talk to the owner. And he left. So he went to talk to the owner, and then shortly after he said, would you come with me? He wants to meet you. And so I remember through the whole corner office. And when we were like halfway through, I could hear somebody very loud, like, hey, he was like, don't give me that shit, meathead. And he was like, this. I was like, and I'm like, oh my God. I was like really intimidated. I was like, oh no.
All right.
And we came to the office, and there's this huge, tall guy. I loved him from the first moment I saw him.
Right.
Even though he was this loud and really obnoxious, kind of, there was some warmth about him. And he was like, there was some mutual respect right away. Like you could tell that he doesn't take anybody. He was very welcoming.
Right.
And so for some reason I was being cocky. And when he hung up the phone, I was like, oh my God, I hope I won't never make you upset like that to talk to me like that. And he was like, oh no, don't worry, dear. That's my regular voice.
Right.
That's how we met. And so he told me, well, I heard the doc recommended you, and you have never been in wine business before. I was like, that's true. I like the wine, but I don't know anything about it. I was being honest.
Right.
And he said, but you would be great in sales. And yeah, I don't know, been done, that, it's like uh, sales was nothing to dream of to be at for me. I also bought into those negative labels.
Right.
He said, well, I think you would be really great at it. Well, why don't you talk to, I don't remember the guy name that was interviewing me originally. And maybe we can come up with something temporarily. And if something opens up in sales, I would like to start training you for sales.
Right.
I'm like, okay. And so I started part-time answering the phones and taking orders over the phone. Overqualified. I like the company. I like the owner. I decided I want to work there no matter what it is.
Right.
And I want to learn about this because I was interested in wines. And this was great opportunity for me to do something I love, learn about it as much as I can, and have a job.
Absolutely.
So for a few months, I was doing this part-time, and then opportunity showed up, and they decided that actually owner's nephew is gonna get the route that is closer to his house, so he doesn't have to travel so much across the state. And where I lived, it would be closer to me to have a route established. And so they decided that I'm ready to go on the road. And a few weeks before that, I started attending sales meetings and tastings. And so I did a lot of self-educating myself. I read books, I was attending the tastings, and you learn. It's just first, it's overwhelming, and everything seems to be same to you, but then you really learn, especially if you want to.
Absolutely. You have to have that mindset to want
yeah,
it. Right.
exactly.
Right. So in a predominantly environment of the winery, right? I mean, well, I would say, in a predominantly male, I would say, career or factor.
For sure. Yeah.
How, and what are some of the, I guess, struggles, or what are some of the things that you I guess, encountered in like a predominantly male environment? And I would say like this, for any entrepreneur, women that are facing the same thing in a predominantly male environment, they have an interest to enter something like that. What are some of the advice that you can give them, and some of the struggles that you faced and overcame that you can give them?
It was totally men's world.
Right.
There was 50 salespeople in this company, and just 3 of us were women.
Right.
There was a female manager, and most of my clients were men. The buyers, restaurants, package stores, wine stores. I believe there was 1 or 2 women in the entire route that I have over 100 customers.
Right.
So, but I did work in men's world before. I sold life insurance in Prague when I needed the money. So it was different. It was also financial advisory. It's kind of men's world too, because I will be the first one. I'm not great in math. So, but you have tools. You learn tools. It's like
Absolutely.
it's not about. Truth is, I was feeling that I'm out of place.
Absolutely.
And I've always cared to carry myself very professionally, not to give anybody false signals that I'm flirting or that, because I wanted to be taken
Professionalism.
seriously. Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you are professional, and I'm not saying that, like, I hear some reactions that when men go after women that she asked for it because she had miniskirt or she had something. I'm not talking about that.
Absolutely.
If I wanted to be taken seriously at work, if I wanted to earn respect from men, I want to be them and being giggly and wear low cut when I'm giving mixed signals.
Right.
Because we
Yeah.
know men think differently than
Right.
females.
Right. Men visual.
And there's a lot of assumptions and
Right.
you know.
Absolutely.
So I decided that I will never give anybody reason to misread to my signals.
Right.
I was carrying myself very professionally. At work in our company, there was not many opportunities because we hardly met. When I became salesman, you basically are on the road on your own.
Right.
The only Friday with on a sales meeting and meeting with the boss and everything. However, I did have quite chauvinistic manager that was above me, and instead of seeing that I am really capable and I do great job, because I was capable of take that established route from the owner's nephew, who was knowledgeable, who was born in States, who was in that business from child and knew everything about it. And I turned it around and doubled the sales within few first months,
Nice.
which was shocking because
Outstanding.
for somebody who came to that market as a complete, I didn't know anybody. I had no connections.
Right.
I couldn't measure with the knowledge some of those guys had,
Right.
but I had something that they didn't have. I had people skills, and I have the humility to be able to speak with everybody on their level. Because when you think about it, when you come to a store, and especially wine stores, there's a lot of snobbery around it.
Right.
And sometimes the more knowledgeable people are, the more they have the need to show off with that. And I have met people who were totally turned off by it, and they actually stopped drinking wine for that reason, because there was so pretentious snobbery around it.
Yeah.
So I experienced this firsthand because I have some people like that around me.
Right.
And so my first differentiation, because as you know, when you are in a highly competitive market, you have to differentiate yourself somehow.
Absolutely.
So the differentiation for me was that I wasn't acting like them.
Right.
I wasn't doing the arrogant things that they did.
Right.
I did what I always did. I started listening first. I was watching my client's business. I was watching what kind of customers he has.
Right.
And then used my brain and the knowledge of portfolio wine to something that would make the most sense to him.
Right.
And that was the whole principle of my sales method, because instead of trying to push on you something that you don't need or you may not even be able to sell.
Right.
So instead of trying to sell something that I need to sell, I was selling something that they already told me that they may have clients for.
Absolutely. So
But
let's
you
talk
have to
about
take
sales.
that time. You have to take the time and learn and so even back to your questions with the female man, you know, dynamic. I have to say I had this that professional. I was always, you know, very professional with my clients, and 99% of them I earned respect with, and they were really, really super professional back. There is few jerks always that they don't want to hear no, and they don't want to hear no for answer, and they just think that they are so superior that like every woman is there for their entertainment. And I had somebody who was really obnoxious.
Right.
He wouldn't do anything, like, because when you have confidence,
Right.
it kind of turns off the man.
Right.
But I encountered with him that it was affecting the. He was, oh, well, if I buy this from you, what are you gonna give me?
Absolutely.
You know, and he was like flirting around, and it was ridiculous.
Right.
And I told him a million times that I'm there to do business, and if he doesn't like it, then maybe he shouldn't have a male rep.
Right.
And he wouldn't he wouldn't entertain that. So eventually I spoke to my boss and he gave that account to somebody else, which was fabulous because I always knew that my company is having my back.
Right. That's
So
good.
you don't have to put up with it.
Right.
It's, I believe, and I have encountered situations throughout my life that men do as much as women do.
Right.
You let them treat you like that.
Absolutely.
It's in you.
Absolutely.
If you show them where the boundaries are and they don't respect it, that's a different story.
Absolutely.
But you always, and it's a very sensitive bridge you walk on because obviously you want that business.
Absolutely.
But I don't want that business because I'm a woman and he likes me.
Absolutely.
I would rather walk away. And
Absolutely.
I did. I actually did.
That's awesome.
I had a store owner who put me through humiliation process. I was in skirt, high heels, in nice suit. He made me retire of, it was about 50 cases. I had 2 surgeries on my back at that time. And so I shouldn't have done it.
Right.
But because he was kind of testing me, let's see if you can sustain that test,
Right. Right.
And I said, okay. So I redid that and I took inventory and then I told him what he needs to refill, what he needs to buy. Because that was the whole purpose of that exercise, that I need you to find out what am I missing for flavors,
Right.
So when I told him what the order was and what he needs to reorder, he told me, well, I'm not going to order this week. So yes, he wanted to humiliate me. He just wanted to laugh at my face and it's just like, yeah, you think you can do it, so just do it. So I turned around and I said, you know what? Okay, fine. So call me when you need a salesman. And I slammed the door on him.
Absolutely.
And I didn't show up for 3 weeks, which was, I would see him every week. Part of the job was we were picking up checks, so their payments won't bounce because they were too lazy to ship it. They wouldn't mail their check because they knew the salesman is coming by and we will pick it up.
Right.
So I made him uncomfortable for that because I didn't show up. So if he needed something, he could buy it himself. He doesn't need me. I'm not his server, And then he called me back and he apologized.
Right.
So you should never be afraid to stand for yourself. If you feel this treatment is not right, you don't have to be arrogant or cocky about it, but you have to be confident that this is not your place.
Absolutely.
And if the man doesn't understand it, then you have to speak with somebody who will make him understand.
Absolutely. Stand up with right. So let's talk about sales. I noticed that it's like, say, you started in sales. So as sales period in any type of career, any type of entrepreneur that you're in, one of the things you talk about was very important is picking up listening skills, and also improving your people skills. So as in sales, as an entrepreneur, I'm someone that's in a entrepreneurship where they have to sell to customers, right?
Yeah.
How important is it to continue to learn, to listen? And I would say, what are some techniques that you can give to kind of improve those listening skills?
I would say that's the most important thing.
Right.
It is the most important thing because if you enter the sales conversation from the position that you know what your wants and needs, and then you just grab some sales scripts and like some powerful questions. I have been through sales trainings like that, and that's why sales has a bad name. And I was actually the big opponent of all these so-called strategies and shortcuts when you enter the conversation and you start asking these pointed questions that sound so fakey. And they require the client to answer yes and yes and yes and then yes. And then psychologically you move him to the corner until at the end, so far he was agreeing with you on everything else. It is maneuvers that made us hate sales.
Right.
It's I know it worked for some and it's being still taught, that there are certain strategies how to persuade your client. And I don't call them persuasion because I call them manipulation.
Right.
And that's why so many people, and especially women, have issue with selling because they don't feel it right. We hate to be sold. We can sense it when it's fake, when it's not sincere.
Right.
So why do we do it to, like, everybody can hear. If I answer the phone and the guy on the line tells me, is lady of the house there, I'm hanging up. I don't need to hear anything more because he's reading a script and it's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
You know, so my first advice is be yourself. Don't play a role. Don't play somebody else's script that somebody told you how to do that. I had my first advice in wine business, and I was looking for advice because I have never been in it.
Right.
Even though I knew how to sell, I didn't know how to sell wine. So
Right.
there are always specifics for that I'm willing to learn. But one of the advice that I got was take this bottle and show it to every single account on your route.
Right.
And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That's like taking a hamburger because you sell it,
Right.
and go to every single food truck, no matter what they sell, and just offer them hamburger because that's what you sell.
Absolutely.
So you go to seafood food truck and you will tell them, hey, I have these best hamburgers. They are organic. They are fantastic. You know, grass fed. You have to have that.
Right.
And look at me like, just because don't you see the freaking sign that I'm selling seafood?
Right.
And that was the similar advice, even though all of my stores were selling alcohol. Right. There were huge differences between them, especially at the beginning. I was getting some bad stores because bad in a way of like not selling fine wine that I needed to sell to make money, because they knew I need to learn. Right. So they gave me some of these package stores that were like piles of yellowtail and piles of beer and singles behind the counter. And you can see the clientele that was going there. Right. That was buying products. So what sense would it make if I grabbed a $30 bottle of Chardonnay that is perfectly fine wine? Right. And push it on this guy? Why? I could sell it to him probably, but for what reason? I would be watching that bottle sitting there collecting dust for another year until he gets so mad at me that he will send it back and ask for a refund. Yes. And because there was no way he could sell it there. If I am a wine drinker and I have refined taste, I wouldn't even walk to a store like that because I would know that they don't have wines that I'm looking for. Who's judging? So I started doing the opposite. Instead of showing everything to everybody, I started treating it like my own business, which kind of was, because it was up to me how I deliver. Absolutely. I had to deliver certain numbers, but it was up to me how I do that. So instead of showing everybody everything, I started listening to my clients, and I jokingly called it, I was creating PFF, my personal FBI files on everybody. I like that, PFF. Because I realized that I cannot remember everything. I can't remember all the names and pay attention to Carnegie and how you make friends. People are very sensitive when you misspell their names. People are very sensitive if you forget names of their wives, or you have to know these people on a regular basis when you are in sales like this. I come every week, and if I sell him something that I'm not proud of and I pushed it on him because I needed to sell it, I'll have to face it a week later because it's not going to sell there either. So instead of doing that, I started segmenting my route into certain types of clients. Okay, they don't care what they sell as long as some for it unfortunately exists in that business. So those were when I needed a favor. Right. Then I had some that I never wanted to damage the trust that we established. And so in those accounts, I would be paying very high attention to what their clients are saying, what their business looks like, and then I will bring them exactly what they were selling the most of. So in other words, learn your customers. For that, you have to also know the portfolio, and you have to be able to compare, of course, what would be working for them. But you bring stuff that is exactly what the 1, 2, 3 times, and you are their hero. And suddenly you stand out of all the competition that comes there every single day, trying to push their stuff on them, because you actually enter that sales from the position of service. And that's the advice you were asking me for. How do you do that to listen? You cannot listen if you walk in that store and your mind is full of, I need to sell this, I need to sell this, I need to sell this, oh my God, I need to make that sell, I need the money, I have to sell this, I have to sell it. You cannot listen while it is running. And we all have that. You're running your issues, you're running your, grocery list, whatever you need to do later, pick up your kid, you don't pay attention. So what I did for myself and worked, and it works with my clients when I teach them that, you have to start with your mindset. You have to create a situation where you really go there in order to observe, to serve.
Observe.
So I would actually leave my wine bag with samples in the car few times a month, maybe, or maybe once a month, but definitely at the beginning when I everybody. So I don't have temptations that I have to show something and I have to sell something, because usually you see salesmen and they blah, 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 blah,
all the
until
time.
you have a hole
Yes.
in your head.
Yes.
So if you come with the intention that I want to learn today, I want to service this guy, I started going through the store. I started to take inventory, to take notes. I was observing how many wines is in each category, if I have at least wine placement in each category. I was observing, like research for myself. And then when the guy was free to talk to me, I would ask him questions. I would ask him what works for him in the past. You would never, but you take over route from somebody who was dealing with this same guy for 6 years. And my colleague that I took it over from, he was beloved. He was a really fun guy to be around. He was a really nice kid. And he was taking care of his business. But I was totally shocked when one of his clients, I asked him, so what's your personal favorite wine? And he looked at me, he's like, that's funny. Nobody ever asked me that question.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Learn your clients.
The first thing I want to know is what he personally likes, because what sell more.
Absolutely.
If you sell him wines that he really particularly don't care for, how enthusiastic he's going to be to show it to his clients if he doesn't care for it.
Not at all. Not at all.
So I was like, what the hell is wrong with people? It's just unbelievable. So you have to be honestly curious.
Right.
And again, please, if you attempt to do this, it is very important. You are not fake. You don't do it because somebody told you, oh, okay, so I should ask him this. No, if you come across as fake, that's the end of you. Because you will never.
Right. Right.
If you know anything about psychology, people really like to talk about themselves. Look at me. I'm talking about myself.
No.
But it's when you are genuinely interested in them, without pretension, you have to really be into it. And I was asking them about their family, and they told me, and when you listen and you ask additional questions to show them that you really care and listen, and you really hear them, what they are saying, they will open up more.
Right.
And it may take, with some people, it took one meeting, with too long, and I would do it occasionally. And we always had a little talk. I never could just come and, hey, here I am, and you need to buy this. Never in my life.
So start a conversation.
I always needed to create some kind of little relationship so I can understand where they are and what they may need, right? Absolutely. And when you do that, I was not capable of remembering everything, of course. So at the end, I would come to my car, and I actually had a box with like hanging files on every single one of my customers. That's why I call it FBI files. Yeah. Even though there was no interrogation. Right. But I would have cards for everybody. their kid's name, I would know their wife's name. Anything interesting they told me about themselves, what team they are fan of, what is their important hobby, what is the value that they cherish the most, things that are meaningful to them. And I wrote everything down, seemingly unimportant details. I wrote everything down. And then that folder also served me if they wanted to ask for a refund or they had some invoice issue. Everything goes to that same file. So it was very organized for me to be organized and follow up on what I promised that I would follow up, take care. And so this worked for me like a clock. And I can tell you, I'm out of selling on the road for 12 years now.
Right.
And I still have clients calling me and asking me how I am.
Absolutely.
Just a friendship. It's not when you get there with the people that you call, that you serve.
Right.
When you really approach it from that place that you really want to understand them as a person,
Right.
they look at you differently. You have no competition. I have so many arrogant salespeople in the wine business that I encounter in my own accounts, that when I saw how they were treating the people, I was like goddess to them compared to it, because it was really annoying. When you think of it, I always try to see situation from the other person perspective.
Absolutely.
When you think of it, you're running your own business, you put all your savings into wine store because you love it. And it costs you a lot of money, and you are there from morning till evening. It's not a huge business to be millionaire from, but it's nice for living,
Right.
But you also don't see a lot come to the store. You are busy taking deliveries and everything. And then day by day, hour and hour, a salesman walks in a store, tries to sell you something. Yet when you look throughout the store, there is no empty spaces. There is no desperate need for him to fill this shelf because there is enough wine. He doesn't need more wine.
Right.
So how do you do that? How does he decide to spend money with you as opposed to the other guy? And I just told you how I did that.
Absolutely.
And it worked like a
outstanding.
You have to, if you come from the place of respect,
Right.
You create the path of least resistance for your sales.
Absolutely.
Because now you're not selling what you need to sell, you are selling what he wants to buy.
Absolutely.
And that's the big difference.
Absolutely. One more question. We have about 3 minutes left. So let's talk about mentorship. I know, in any type of career, mentorship, or mentor is definitely very important. As a entrepreneur, how important early in the career, or is it important maybe later in the career, to get a mentor? And I would pose this question as a woman and entrepreneur: do you recommend for a woman-to-woman mentor, or it doesn't matter when it comes to a mentor?
I think the gender or color of the skin doesn't matter as long as you resonate on a personal level.
Absolutely.
Obviously, there's plenty of coaches that coach business or coach sales, and it depends on the client, what the client needs. I have been searching for coaches myself, and I didn't resonate with everybody. I didn't want to go through some automated funnels and become a millionaire in 3 months. That's not it. I don't believe in that. That's to my philosophy. So I wouldn't work with somebody like that. But I'm always learning. I'm always absorbing. To mentor, I made that offer to you for your audience. If somebody wants to start their business, or somebody is unhappy where their business is right now and want to grow it, I want to offer the opportunity that I didn't have when I first started, because I couldn't afford it. I lost my job. I didn't have any savings. We were here way too short. And I just believed I couldn't afford it. So I did everything myself. When I needed a website, I learned how to make it, and it was a website. And so obviously it takes so much longer, and you make mistakes that you would otherwise not make. So looking back, if I took a credit and get the mentor or coach right then, I would save myself a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of frustration, because many people, when you don't know where to even start, and you can have somebody who has already done it, who can guide you through it
Right.
and let you do it your way, but help you so you don't run into issues and unnecessary problems, it's gonna save you a lot of process. And till today, even though I'm coach myself, I have coaches that I work with, and I'm part of masterminds, and I'm constantly learning. It's never ending process. You never feel like you know everything.
Right.
So I wanted to offer somebody in this audience, if they are, no matter if you are in the beginning of the journey, or if you just want to grow, and or you stuck and don't know why, or you have any issue with selling, which there is plenty, and
Absolutely.
almost everybody
Yes.
comes to me because they have issue with selling.
Right.
And I can tell you, if there is anything going on in your business that it's not 100%, it's in the personal problems that are reflecting in the way how you run business or what kind of decisions you make. So it is always beneficial to have somebody on your side who is expert, who can lead you through it, who can brainstorm with you, because you may not even see the possibilities that are out there, uh, because you have never been there. You like they say, you can see tree for the forest. If you are in the middle of a forest and you
Right.
are overwhelmed with you lost,
Right.
you cannot see that one tree that is standing there showing you right way,
Right.
because it's all those trees around you. And it's same problem is, and beauty of the coaching, when you are in the position, when you are overwhelmed with some issue and you don't know how to get out of it, it is always beneficial when somebody can talk with you and clear it out and make it simple focus, and suddenly you see the way, suddenly you see the solutions that didn't even come up to you before. It is not to tell you what to do or how to do it,
Right.
but simply by the brainstorming part of the idea, and somebody who is not critical of you, somebody who is trying to help you and is
Right.
really uplifting you and showing you the possibilities that know you,
Someone
and
has an
really
interest in the game.
encouraging you. And speaking of experience, because I know what I face in the market, I know what my clients face, uh, and I can help you prevent those mistakes that may be costly. So I wanted to offer somebody from this audience a free mentorship. Coaching is quite expensive. Uh, Business coaching is always about results. So if I can increase your sales 50%, it has some value to it, and that's my value proposition that I have. But if somebody is at the beginning and to get rich from trying, because you don't know how, and you don't know where to start, or you don't know what would you even do, just give yourself a chance. And I want to be that light for somebody that is unsure if they can do it but has some ideas, and I want to offer to mentor you for free if you are the right candidate. I would love for that to qualify, that you send either me or your precious host,
Right.
uh, uh, how to say it, like little writing about
Absolutely.
why you want,
Absolutely.
about what you want, because you may not even know what you want to do, but
Absolutely.
why you want it, what it would mean to you if you did that, what it
Absolutely.
would mean to you if you start your own business, and what opportunities it will give you in your life. Because we really don't have to stay where we are. We
Absolutely.
have the power to change things.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. Vera, thank you again for joining my show, Vision Equal Reality. So, Vera, how can the viewers find Vera or your company that you're part of your coaching?
Yes, so my company's name is Third Chances, which means that you serve only hands at four, and whatever how many you need.
All right.
And my website is www.third-chances.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time. I decided to focus on one social media as opposed to being everywhere, because I don't have that much time. And because I mostly work with businesses, that's where my clientele is, and that's where I'm trying to be helpful. So you can also reach out to me directly. I can provide my email address, I guess,
Right.
and that would be Vera, Vera, chances.com.
Absolutely.
But I'm sure you will probably provide that contact information in your show notes. So if anybody needs to reach out to me or reach out to Stricken, then just write me or him email or call the show, and I'm sure he will direct you the right way.
Absolutely. And Vera, thanks again for joining me. Everything will be provided, like I say, Vera after the show. But Vera, again, it was a pleasure. Definitely, thanks again for joining me, and definitely we'll do this again.
Thank you for having me. And very good luck with your show. Okay, you're doing great
Absolutely.
thing.
Thank you so much. All right. Have a good day now.
Wow, what another great interview. I really enjoyed the interview with Vera. As an entrepreneur, one of the things that she did not give us an excuse for those that are in a comfortable environment and move into an uncomfortable environment. 1 year, Vera moved from another country, which was her comfortable environment, to an uncomfortable environment. Within 1 year, she outperformed every salesman in that organization that she was with. She did not use an excuse that she was in a uncomfortable environment with no surroundings, no familiarizations, no one. She excelled, she did well, and the same for you. You can do it. Those of you that have an idea in your head, a dream, a vision, or want to move to another career, don't let an unfamiliar environment stop you from going to your potentials, to your dreams. Step out on faith and do it. Once again, Vera is giving away free coaching to someone that wants to move their visions, their dreams, their business to that next level. You can send me an email at visionsreality2021@gmail.com. One of the stipulations, you need to write a one-page paragraph of explaining of why you think that you need to be chosen to be coached by Vera. Once again, you can send that to visionsreality2021@gmail.com. Again, this platform is for you. If you'd like to see a particular skill set or entrepreneurship that you want to learn about, leave a comments below, send me an email. I'll get that entrepreneurship on this platform. You can use this platform. That way you can see what that entrepreneurship is about before you get started in it. So leave a comments below, subscribe to my YouTube videos, hit the like button below. Any entrepreneurs that you want to see on this show or different skill set or different type of skill set, something that you're interested in getting in, leave me an email and I'll get that particular entrepreneurship on this show. Once again, subscribe to my YouTube videos, hit the like button below. See you at the next video.